This is a kind of combination, well, they all are, but this is a little bit more so. What is your one issue that distinguishes you from the others? What committees do you see yourself sitting on, and what impact do you feel you can make? And each of you claims to have the ability to bring results to Roosevelt Island. How will your work and life experiences enable you to achieve results for us?
Let's start with
So start with what differentiates me from the other candidates. Other than that, I sometimes say things that might be unpopular, but I think are true. But seem to be somewhat popular with serious people. Look, the focus of my campaign and how I plan to be a leader for the 76th Assembly District and for all of New York is a focus on inequality, on economic issues, on housing and housing affordability, which, along with income, are the two core issues of our day. The middle class and the working class, really more the middle class, are truly being squeezed out of this city. And it's not right, and it doesn't have to be that way. And it shouldn't be that way. And I believe that I will be a more capable and eloquent, although I'm not finding myself incredibly eloquent at the moment. I believe I will be a more capable and eloquent spokesman on economic issues than some of my opponents here once I'm in office. And that's going to come from the fact that I have a deep business background. I have a finance and accounting degree from Wharton that I've spent the last 20 years working in business and working in finance. And it gives me, I think, a lot of credibility with the media and with the center and with the broader electorate on economic and social issues and economic issues. I'm sorry. So that's what I plan to do, and that's what I plan to fight for. I plan to fight for the working people and the middle class people of this city and this country, and I'm going to work really hard to do it.
what makes me. Sorry, I turned the mic on.
Did that on purpose. Duff's got time for like 3 minutes. 2 minutes. What makes me different from the other candidates, and they're all great people up here running for office, they care deeply about their community, but I've made a lot of decisions in my life that have not been based for myself. Being a millionaire, being in a major corporation, which I am, but I've always left my work to make sure that I serve the community, whether it's running after-school programs for kids, whether it's serving overseas or risking my life for strangers, where I had the skills to do complicated projects and initiatives that could be done in this country here. I knew how to build hydroelectric dams. I knew how to get the grid back up and running and do affordable housing. The other thing is businessman. Well, I was a small businessman. Not a banker, that hands out the money. I was the guy. How many businessmen do we have, small businessmen, here in Roosevelt Island? Raise your hand. It's tough. You know, I went to the bank, I had 5 employees, I had to pay their health care. I sold the business because my business partner, unfortunately, was also a reservist, served overseas in Iraq, came back, and Arthur put his uniform on and hung himself off the Bourne Bridge in Cape Cod. So I understand how fragile small businesses are and how the rents, when they increase, particularly here, which we're going to see it happen, a lot of these small businesses are going to be lost. I'll fight for them. I also fight for the people who can't speak for themselves. Seniors is very important. Seniors being thrown out of their apartments by landlords calling social services with trumped-up charges. I'm going to open up my office and protect the innocent and protect the people that can't care for themselves. Seniors and our veterans. And also make sure that our kids have after-school programs, the performing arts, which is very important. I'm a bassoonist, by the way. War's not my only talent. Played in the orchestra. So we make sure that we protect our kids, protect our seniors. I'll be the person on the street. I know the problems, and I'm the person that will get results like I have in many things that I've accomplished in my life.
So in terms of distinction, yes, all my colleagues have impressive resumes. I think the distinction for me is it's being growing up on the inside and being on the outside at the same time. I grew up at a time when government actually was working, okay, in the 60s when we had the Great Society. Things were actually working. And then when I left Capitol Hill in '92, things started to be going off the rails. And they continue to be off the rails here in Albany, here in Washington. So how am I different and what's the overarching theme? Look, a lot of you know me because I talk about opening green space, but really what I'm talking about is environmental economic policy, which is long-term sustainable growth. Everything that you hear me talk about, from every issue there is, it's about long-term thinking, especially on this island. Long-term thinking is important. How will I get that done? Because I've been doing that for all of you for the last 3+ years on Community Board 8. I am the only person up here who has actually taken a stand, who has actually opened his mouth and said, I stand for this. I stand for Community Board 8, standing for the silent march on stop and frisk, okay? I was the one who stood up at the 1133 York Avenue Task Force, the only one who took on the most powerful interest in this community district and said, no, you will not entomb 54 people into total darkness without a fight for me. And our community manager looked at me and said, you are out of your mind. People came to me and said, we're going to throw you off the community board. They threatened me, and I said, fine, threaten me, because I'm doing my job. Okay, Scott Stringer's not going to throw me off the community board. I'd like to see him do that. I'm doing my job. So I have been standing up for you, fighting for your issues, for affordable housing. When the developers come and they want to put up those market rate apartments and they ask, where's the affordable housing, like they did in January, and I say, fellas, it's on Roosevelt Island, it's in the Bronx, it's on the Upper West Side. Look, let's make it real simple. How about it's right there, where you're building the market rate apartments, okay? That's it, that's how we go. And just, I know it's the end, and I want to be clear about one other thing, okay? I will not countenance this canard, this sophistry, this lie about a poor door, okay? Just because we're north of the Mason-Dixon line, okay? I went to college at Randolph-Macon, the center of the political universe, and knocked off Eric Cantor. But I will tell you, I know what that poor door is all about, okay? It is shameful and disgraceful and should be outlawed, okay? No, we're not going to have that, okay? None of this poor door stuff, because I know exactly what that means, okay? You can call it, as a professor of mine said in law school, you can call it whatever you want. Spinach, it's a contract. All right, sorry. Anyway, so that's my distinction, and sorry I went on.
I just want to tell you that we have a zillion questions and no more questions. Will be, no more cards will be picked up. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. I think there's 3 things that distinguish me from the rest of the candidates in the race. Number 1, I'm a PTA parent. I've raised my children through the public school system. I'm an active PTA mom right now, and I've seen firsthand the need for additional resources for our public school system and smaller class sizes. I showed up at a PTA meeting recently, and for a parent-teacher conference, and it got to be 8:30 at night, and I would sit home, along with a lot of other parents, without a PTA conference, without a parent-teacher conference for our child. And no parent should have to go home at 8:30 at night when they've scheduled an appointment for a parent-teacher conference. And I just feel so strongly that we need additional resources for our public school system, smaller class sizes. The other thing that distinguishes me is I'm the only candidate that's not self-financing my campaign and hasn't written a large check to my candidacy. I believe strongly in campaign finance reform being passed at the state level. I'm not from Wall Street. I'm not from corporate America. I worked for 2 congressmen in Washington, D.C. as chief of staff to a state legislator. The third thing that distinguishes me is my background and my endorsements. I have the support of our city controller, Scott Stringer, who endorsed my candidacy very early on, Tish James, Gail Brewer, our state senator, Jose Serrano, Senator Liz Kruger, the Tenants PAC, Marriage Equality Champion, Edie Windsor, Local 1199, 32BJ, and I am just so honored and pleased with the endorsements of my candidacy, and I think that distinguishes me from the rest of the candidates. Thank you.